Hello, and welcome back to High Vibe Table Talks. I'm very excited to dive into this conversation with Will Christensen. So, Will, thank you for joining the podcast.
Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So, I like to uh, give my audience a little bit of a taste of who you are to start off with. So, can you tell us who you are, where you're located, and then who you serve?
Great question. So I am in Syracuse, Utah, which is north of Salt Lake City. That's where I'm calling in from my basement, because I went remote in 2018 before it was cool. And then the whole rest of the world decided to join me in 2020. I have no idea why that was. Um, but so I serve many different segments. I've got a lot of experience in automation and integration. That's kind of where my career started. And then it shifted more towards delegation, which is where I'm focused now. And I clone solopreneurs. So
hmm
solopreneurs who are looking to make their first hire. I made so many mistakes on my first hires, so many mistakes. And so we've got a guaranteed process that we help solopreneurs go through where they can't mess it up. Like it's impossible to mess it up because we've got so many good systems in place to coach them and support them and help them actually scale. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think there's so much there, and there's kind of two parts of the conversation I want to have. The first one is like how you're obviously an expert in I'm excited to dive into the 15115
Yep.
and the like when I heard you talking about it on a podcast that I was listening to earlier, and I was like, "Oh my, that's like something that everybody can take so much away from."
Yep. Yep.
But I also want to dive into you as an entrepreneur and how you run your business and kind of I love to dive into the messy middle parts of it. And it
Okay.
seems like you have done that yourself. You
Yep.
said you made a lot of mistakes,
Oh my
and you
goodness.
really help a lot of
Yes.
other entrepreneurs through that. So I want to kind of hit both sides of that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I won't leave the audience hanging on too long. Can you share with us what is the 15115 method?
Great question. So basically, I had people coming to me, and the most common question they would ask is, what should I be automating? What should I be automating? And it's interesting because it seems like a simple question. Like I should just be able to tell you, here's the 5 workflows you absolutely should be automating. And I can tell you some common workflows, but what I discovered was that everybody was a little bit different. And so what they needed was actually a way to discover for themselves what should be automated. And I learned later it's actually what should be automated, delegated, and or eliminated. Right. So like where do we go through that process? And so um, the short version is 15115 is what you should write on a sticky note. So stop, pause the podcast, go find a sticky note, or open up your phone and open a new note on your phone. And that new note at the top is going to say 15 1, 15115. So 15 1 1 5. What that stands for is 15 minutes a day, an hour a week, or an hour a month. So think, how often do tasks happen? They happen daily, weekly, or monthly. If it goes over 15 minutes a day, over an hour a week, over an hour a month, you should probably consider automating, delegating, or eliminating that task. If it's lower than that, don't get sucked down that rabbit hole. I have I have spent 8 to 10 hours trying to automate like a 10-minute task. And I got to the end of it, I automated it, but I was like, oh man, that's going to take 5 years to become ROI positive
Right.
for the time that I saved by automating this thing. So sometimes it's okay to dive into that way because you're learning something that's going to help your clients. And I've done that before on purpose, but do it intentionally. So when you write down each one of those things, the last 5 is do it 5 times manually. So on your list, that let's say that you opened up a new note in on your iPhone or on your Android phone, and you type in, voice type. I love voice typing. I voice type in, this is the task that I've got happening, and it's weekly. Then ignore that for a while. until it comes up again. Oh, it came up. So put a tally mark. So you would put a tally mark, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tally marks next to that item. And then once you've done it 5 times, you know enough about the if thens inside that process that you can actually write a standard operating procedure for it and automate it, and or automate it, depending on what's out there. You know enough about it to actually automate.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you decide what you should automate.
Yeah. And it's so great because, one of the reasons why, when your assistant, whoever you use to um, touch base with other podcasts to see if we can connect, is around ADHD. And I was listening to
Oh man.
some content of yours earlier, which was around like how you're like allergic to the copying pasting text,
Uh-huh.
or like the you automated something to help you pick up garbage when you were a kid. And so it sounds like there's a lot of curiosity just naturally built in to like, how can I eliminate the things that make me want to stab my eyes out? And like
Yes.
a lot of my community, my audience really resonates with that. And so I think that it's a great place to start. And I think that your formula allows people to chunk things out and like, okay, I did this 5 times. Can I take an hour this week to automate it so I can get that ROI back, like you said?
It removes the to be or not to be question. So you're not standing there as Hamlet holding that skull and saying, should we automate or shouldn't we automate? Like I found myself asking that question to myself over and over and over and over again. And then I would go do the thing and I would automate it. And I was like, well, crap, that was a total waste of time. I should not have automated that, because now the client is coming in and they're saying maybe instead of often. And my if then statement was off of the maybe. And so like it just so many things that I just did not understand. And so that was the whole purpose, was how can I create a way for me to not get trapped in the should I automate cycle. And then out of fear, because I gotta automate something, you
Mm-hmm.
go down a rabbit hole and you get to the end of it. And so another question people were often asking me, how can I get my team to adopt automation or AI? How can I, at the time it wasn't AI
Yeah.
because AI wasn't a thing, but how can I get my team to adopt this? I say the first thing you've got to do is stop them from going down the automation rabbit hole that doesn't actually work, because there's no faster way than to burn the automation or AI bridge for your employee than to send them down the rabbit hole. They spend 4 hours trying to automate whatever it was and they get zero return.
Mm-hmm.
Have that happen 2 or 3 times and you're never doing it again.
Yeah.
And so giving your teammates a framework so that that gets taken care of, that's gold.
Mm-hmm. And so, segue being AI, what are some things that like you use yourself or provide your customers with AI that really helps with efficiency?
Beautiful question. So the one I'm talking about a lot right now is called Perplexity. Have you used
Oh,
Perplexity yet?
no.
Oh my gosh. This has replaced the big G for me. I no longer
Oh,
use Google,
really?
really. Like I Googled something the other day and I was so frustrated with the results page. I was like, that's it. And I went and
Yeah.
installed a Chrome extension that made it so that Perplexity is now my Omnibox search bar.
Wow.
So like if I type, hit Control T and open a new tab and type, Perplexity is what gets the query. Now, there's a couple of situations where I found this to be annoying. When I do searches, I do searches for one of two reasons. I'm looking for information, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to make some sort of decision, or I just want the dang website. Like I can't remember the exact URL, so I want it to pop up at the top. Perplexity kind of stinks at that. Like it does
Okay.
not do a very good job of finding you that top search result kind of situation. I've had to go back to Google for some of those situations. And I'm wondering if there's something like some sort of keyboard shortcut or something that I can tell it, like, I just want you to find the correct URL associated with this thing. And you could type it in, like, whatever my query was, URL, and I'm sure it would do it just fine. What I've discovered, though, is you can ask it questions like, who in the lifetime of Marvel Comics has been worthy of picking up Thor's hammer?
Oof.
You go type that in there, and here's the crazy part. It will go in and it will go through a search results page, and it will basically, using some advanced logic, like it says, okay, the user's going to give a query and you're going to respond. And before you ask, think about the query and see if there's a way that you can rephrase it in a way that more people might have searched for it. And so it's doing the searching for you better than you would, because
Wow.
most of the time people aren't fantastic Googlers. My wife's like, I don't know how you find crap online, but you
Yeah.
seem to be able to find stuff I can't find. And the reason I can find stuff is because I spend the time to like modify the words so that they are more common, and I watch the suggestions so I get more stuff. I don't have to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I just type it into Perplexity. Perplexity says, oh, cool. And it goes through, it reads the 7 or 8 different pages that were relevant to what I was describing, and then it summarizes the answer.
Hmm.
So instead of me having to go look through every single page and look at all of what's there, it's
Yeah.
just there.
Wow.
ChatGPT 4 has recently announced, and they've got a search function that's built into ChatGPT 4. They had one a while ago. They were getting lots of complaints for copyright. They got rid of it. They brought it back. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It is not as good, I have found, as
Yeah.
Perplexity. Perplexity is good enough that I've been able to be like, I want to buy a new podcasting mic. Find me the top podcasting mics out there and compare and contrast them in a table. And the table is dang accurate.
Wow. That's cool. That's really cool. And I had someone on specifically around AI not that long ago, and one of the things as we were discussing was like one of the tips is just instead of going to Google, go to ChatGPT or go to some sort of AI, because when Google first came out, we didn't know how to prompt it. It was like, find me food. And you're like, okay, well, where are you? Do you have a dietary restriction? How much money do you want to spend? Do you have kids? Like, there's all these factors, and you have to prompt Google with those things. And now we're just learning how to prompt AI. And it
Yep.
sounds like Perplexity does a really good job of learning more about what type of results that you specifically want on top of your query.
Yep. Yep.
So, very
100%.
cool. So,
100%.
before we hit record, we were kind of talking about some of the content that you do put out, and I was thinking about it when I was listening to one of your some of your earlier content around, like, you put out a ton of free content, and I know that a lot of solopreneurs struggle with, am I giving away too much stuff? Am I giving away too much for free that people are never going to buy from me?
Yep.
So, how would you answer that question for those who struggle with that?
So what I would say is, as a solopreneur, you don't have a lot of advantages in this war that is business, right? Like in this game of like competition, cutthroat, I'm going to eat your lunch because I want that business.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a lot of things going for us in terms of like, man, we're so good at this. The two things we do have is our agility. We're able to move really fast,
Yeah.
where these large organizations that do the same things we do, they're kind of slow.
Yeah.
Because it's such a large organization. There's a lot of bureaucracy that I cut through, all of that kind of stuff that's there. The second advantage we have is teaching. When we share our knowledge, because those big corporations, they will not share. That's that's our bread and butter. We're going to teach you, become a client, and then we'll teach you how to do all of this stuff. My experience is I can over-educate my audience to the point where they realize just how complicated the thing I've become an expert in is. And so 15115, you didn't pay anything to get that from me today. And the reason I shared it is because I know once you get a list of like 20 different things that you're trying to automate that you've done 5 times manually, you're going to be like, crap, I might need some help.
Yeah.
Right. And that's on purpose because, well, you have a sticky note on your desk that says 15115. That's way better than a business card that I just
Yeah.
sat down in front of you. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like what better way for you to remember, oh yeah, Will helps with this kind of stuff, or he might know somebody that helps with this kind of stuff and can kind of dig into all of those different pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard someone say recently that in the age in which we are with the internet, people are a lot less willing to pay for education. They're willing to pay more for application. And so, I mean, you can Google any or yeah, proximity. The
Perplexity.
Perplexity. You go
Perplexity.
Perplexity, anything, and
Yep.
you're going to get a ton of free stuff back. But now,
Well,
how do I go and apply it to
oh
my
yeah.
business with my ADHD in the specific type of offering that
Yep.
I have?
Yep. Here's so one of the things that I found that's super interesting, and I'll be curious to see who fine tunes this enough to the point where I'm willing to pay for it. But I have had moments where I'm like, okay, pretend you're Alex Hermosi, ChatGPT,
Hmm.
and rewrite this for me, right? Rewrite this email that I'm trying to send. You can go 10 steps farther, turn on the voice mode, which, by the way, the voice mode on ChatGPT 4 has gotten really good, like
Okay.
wicked good. You can actually interrupt it. So you can be
Really?
like, hey, oh yeah, and like you don't have to wait for it. Like it is amazing what it will do and how easy it is. So like I have on my phone, I've got it right here in front of me. So basically I can just open it up and say, hey, ChatGPT, you're about to be on a podcast. What would you want to tell people about yourself? Like, what can you do? We'll see if this works.
Absolutely. That works. If I were to introduce myself on a podcast, I'd say, hey there, I'm ChatGPT, a conversational AI developed by OpenAI. I'm here to chat, help out, and share knowledge on a wide range of topics. From answering questions to offering advice, or even just having a friendly chat, I aim to make conversations engaging
So
and
I'm actually going to
informative.
interrupt you there real quick. What I'd love for you to do is look up Will Christensen. He's the guy who founded Data Automation, and look up 15115. What is that?
Sure, let me fill you in. Will Christensen is an entrepreneur known for founding Data Automation, a company that specializes in integrating and automating various e-commerce processes. As for the 15115 method, it's a strategy Will champions, focused on helping businesses streamline their operations. The numbers stand for 15 minutes of planning, 1 hour of focus work, 1 minute of break, and 5 minutes of review.
You're
It's a way
totally
to
hallucinating there. You may want to
Yes.
look into that a little more. So as you can see, like it's gonna be off sometimes on exactly what's there. But it did a great job of guessing and it sounded really good. Um,
If
I
I
mean,
didn't actually know what it was, I would have totally believed that.
yeah, well, so that's the downside of AI, right?
Yes.
You have to be careful with some of those different pieces. I was really like I knew I was stretching its boundaries.
Yeah.
That's probably the key thing I would say for the listeners. If you haven't had multiple conversations and have a conversation with something about something that you're super knowledgeable, like you
Hmm.
just finished a book, have a conversation with it about that book and start to ask it more specific and more specific and more specific questions. You'll figure out, oh, there's a level of specificity out there where if I know that this is probably only found on 2 blog posts in the entire world,
Yeah.
the AI probably doesn't have enough data to train on that to actually give you a reliable answer. And so
Yeah.
I knew when I asked it, tell him, did it get who I am? Like give a bio for Will Christensen? It's got that all over the place. And I'm on hundreds of different podcast episodes. So I know that information's out there for it to train on.
Right.
But 15115, that's probably in maybe 10 or 15 different episodes. And
Yeah.
so it had enough to know that it was a framework, but it didn't have enough to give you the exact details of that framework. And so my challenge for the audience would be go start having conversations with it daily
Mm-hmm.
and do so in a way where you begin to understand its boundaries and limits.
Yeah.
So that's the real challenge of AI is
Mm-hmm.
knowing, like my gut said, should you ask it the 15115 question? And I was like, it'll be hilarious if it hallucinates.
Yep.
Like I knew that that's where it was at, where it could go.
Yeah.
And that's because I have pushed those boundaries on a regular basis to see what is it actually capable of getting right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's incredible how much AI and deep learning and all of these technologies have it felt like they were growing exponentially. Now they're growing at the speed of light. And I'm sure that every generation says that. Um, but as solopreneurs who our time is such a valuable currency
Mm-hmm.
and we're trying to figure out where to put our time,
Mm-hmm.
how do you manage new technologies, new
Oh my
things that are
gosh.
coming out on a, what feels like, because I know every person listening to this is going to go and like Google themselves through Chat GPT or, like they're going to see, do that thing, the prompt that we just did. So how do you manage that?
So Perplexity is an amazing tool for this. The reason I would use Perplexity and I would pay for it is because the paid version will let you do more searches. You can try it out for free. It's got its own free version.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's amazing about the platform is when I have a question about like which piece of software should I use for X, Y, and Z, it reads that first page. So instead of me having to get overwhelmed by all of those different sales pages,
Mm-hmm.
it reads them for me,
Mm-hmm.
gives me a semi-informed decision so that I can then whittle down and go down to the information that I really wanted.
Yeah.
Another thing that I would honestly recommend is automationhunter.com. So automationhunter.com is a website that I publish too. It's actually a YouTube channel as well. And I am constantly reviewing apps.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going in and I'm finding what's out there for solopreneurs that's going to make a difference. And so, you're welcome to submit reviews to me or say, I call it creating a bounty. You're welcome to create a bounty with me and basically say, Will, I need to find an app that does X, Y, or Z. And
Mm-hmm.
I will go find, or sometimes it's as simple as like, you go, so if you're an entrepreneur and you're, considering this idea of a new app and you're like, switching to a new CRM is such a pain in the butt. Like, I do not know which one I should switch to. That's a perfect example of a bounty. Email me, will@equityhammer.com. We'll jump on a 15-minute episode of Automation Hunter, and I will ask you questions about that bounty and then recommend a CRM.
Yeah.
So, like, there are lots of resources like that out there that are constantly trying to help with that overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the first step is just buckle up because it's going to be a ride.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to try new things, but also don't spend too much time trying all the new things or you'll never actually build a business.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I have a couple episodes around CRMs, and so that's a great place to start because I think CRMs should be salespeople and entrepreneurs' Bibles. They should be, touching, but it can be like, I don't even know where to start with a CRM. And so I always tell people to start with a Excel spreadsheet because that's easily accessible before you figure out what you do want, what you are going to use. So
I would recommend rather than Excel, Excel is what they all know, like tables, whatever, Google Sheets, that kind of thing. I actually tell people to go to Airtable, Coda, Notion, or ClickUp. One of those three. Use the table functionality because they all have free versions. All three of those platforms I just mentioned all have free versions. The key is that they can do relational databases.
Oh.
So you can have a contacts tab and a companies tab, and you can assign contacts to one company. Where a spreadsheet falls down first as a CRM is when you're trying to assign two contacts to the same company, because then you're putting in a comma separated list. And if you try to do a mail merge on that, Nice
Yeah.
try. Like you run into all sorts of problems when you try to begin to force a one-dimensional piece of data. That's what a spreadsheet is. It's one dimension into a two-dimensional, meaning I want to associate two records with one record in another
Right.
table, a relational database. So all of those platforms I just mentioned, Airtable, ClickUp, Notion, and Coda was the other one that I mentioned. All of those have free templates for CRMs that you can go get right now,
Yeah.
and it's just as flexible as a spreadsheet. Delete, merge, move, whatever. Going there before the spreadsheet will actually save you some time and energy, because it's going to have all the fields on there already that you got to fill out, and delete any that don't make sense, because it's very similar to a spreadsheet.
Right.
So
Right.
that's where I would go first. And I agree. If you're not currently writing down who you're talking to, holy crap, go write down the stuff who you're talking to. I've been shocked with, like, I just tried a new one called Adio, ATTIO.
Okay.
It's an automatic spreadsheet. So like it looks at your email history and your calendar and then just updates itself.
Wow.
I have not dug into it in grand detail. A good friend of mine who runs a podcast, or excuse me, not a podcast. She runs a monthly newsletter called Optimize Monthly. So it's optimizemonthly.com. She and I are kind of partnering up to kind of build out a directory of sorts. She's using Adio right now.
Okay.
And she's on it. She's on the paid version, and she's been on for about a month. It's got a lot of cool sequences. She's not sure if she's going to continue paying for it,
Okay.
but it was pretty cool to see it fill itself out. Like I got in there, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, cool. They've got some sample data. Wait a second. I've emailed like all those. Oh my gosh, this. There's 1,900 contacts in here, and I didn't put any of them in here. Hold
Wow.
on. And it started like categorizing them in like, which industry they were in and how large the
Yeah.
companies were, and I was like, oh my. So
Yeah. Because I
anyway,
think,
lots out there to test and play with.
yeah, like working in, I had a role where I was specifically just in sales, and now running a business and working with entrepreneurs, like a lot of entrepreneurs with ADHD. That data entry is like soul
Oh,
crushing.
oh,
And if you can get
totally. Could
an
not agree more
AI
about the
tool.
soul crushing is the right word for that.
Yes. Because, like, I mean, entrepreneurs are dynamic. They're engaging. They love talking. They love creating. They love connecting. They copy and pasting, like you said, is the worst thing. Like, we're allergic to it. And
It's
so,
painful.
yeah. Yeah. So, I think AI's biggest compliment is going to be doing the stuff that crushes your soul, that is painful to you, you know?
I
So,
honestly, AI was, so I can remember being in high school. This guy gets up on the stage and he was like, so they want me to come out here and motivate you. And they had like motivational speakers that they would hire to
mhm.
come speak to high school students to get them revved up about college and all of the other, like, go become someone,
Yeah.
right? Um, the guy goes, the coolest thing about working hard and like actually being successful? And we were all like, yeah, what? And he was like, I don't have to know how to spell. And I was like, what the fetch does he even mean? Like, that's like the opposite of what my English teacher taught me last
Right.
hour.
Right.
He said, I have an assistant who does all of that for me. She
Wow.
manages my entire everything when
Yeah.
it comes to that. And at that moment, I was like, that's going to be me one day, because I
Yeah.
can't spell worth beans. Like,
Yeah.
we are going to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And that has kind of been my mission in life, is to
Mhm.
figure out how to connect those dots.
Mhm.
On the note of an assistant, said every entrepreneur ever, I wish I just had someone who would sit on all my calls and write down all the to-dos. I just, and then I'd take care of them. Like I'll do them, but I just need somebody to write them all down, because this whole note-taking thing on the call, like, so frustrating. For $12 a month plus maybe $20 a month, so like $33 a month. So you know what? I bet I could do it in under 31. So for $1 a day, I have Fathom Note Taker that sits on every single one of my phone calls, and it captures all of the to-dos, pushes those to-dos to Zapier that get
Mm-hmm.
pushed to ClickUp, and all of my to-dos are written down with a little link back to the timestamp of where the AI thinks that the task came from. For $1 a day, I have a freaking, and it's better than full time, guys. Like I could get on 80 hours of meeting every week, and guess what? It doesn't care. It just jumps on and continues doing that.
Right.
Like AI opened the door for those of us with ADHD in a way that is just mind numbing. I felt
Yeah.
so. I'm very religious, and I said some very thankful prayers to Heavenly Father when AI became a thing, because I was like, I feel like this was made for my brain.
Right. Oh, yeah. I have just been diagnosed with ADHD this year, and so the grace of like this is how my brain works has been life-changing. And so then to find tools like that. So I could talk forever with you. I would like a round of applause because I was so tempted to come on, like as you were talking when I was listening to other content of yours. I was like, I want to have you like break apart my business, and but the audience doesn't want to listen to you breaking apart my business.
Well, we should definitely do that on another call.
Yeah.
Anyone who is currently out there, and this is an offer that's open to your whole audience as well. Um, anyone who is currently in the mode of trying to figure out how to grow that solopreneur business, and they're at a point where they're charging more than $150 an hour for their time.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only requirement. Jump on a phone call with me for 15 minutes, and I'll bet you a $50 Amazon gift card I will change your life before the end of that call in terms of automation and integration.
Mm-hmm.
And like we'll help you find a new app, we'll help you find a new piece of what's there and pick apart one of those challenges. And
Yeah.
that's on the table and a bet I'm willing to make. So if you get me and I'm like, yeah, I totally lost that, I can't do the $50 gift card thing, but I'll happily help you. I'll be surprised. I have yet to experience. I'm happy to pay out 100, 200, $300 a month to keep that offer alive.
Yeah.
So I will happily pay you. But I'll be shocked if I can't find something to share with you that doesn't shift your world for you in
Yeah.
automation or AI.
That's awesome. So I'm going to challenge you because we're running up on time to see if we can get the lightning round questions in the fastest time yet on the
All right.
podcast. Are you ready, Will?
I'm ready for the lightning round.
What is a must-read book?
Oh my gosh. Leadership and Self-Deception. This book changed my life in terms of how I work with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that book, bar none, that's probably one I would read. Get a Grip on Your Business, which is like Gina Wickman Traction. It's the
Mm-hmm.
fable, the entrepreneurial fable that talks about that. That book is amazing. And then 4 Disciplines of Execution.
Awesome. What does creativity mean to you?
Creativity means looking at a problem through a different lens than the one you normally wear.
Mm-hmm.
So being willing to say, okay, today I'm wearing I'm afraid of being abandoned lens, and now I'm not. Okay, how does that problem look?
Mm-hmm.
So like being willing to shift the lenses through which you look at the world to try to solve a problem. That's what creativity is to me.
That's awesome. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh my gosh. Probably always be honest.
Mm.
Like honesty is the best policy, right? Like that. It sounds super cliche, but I have found that in moments when it feels like it might be better to obfuscate or scrape something under the rug, that has often come back to bite me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say transparency is probably your most effective tool in client relationships.
Yeah, I agree with that. What is something that's on your bucket list?
I would love to. I got 2 things I'll throw out there. One, I served a 2-year mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to take my wife and family back to Brazil
Yeah.
to meet some of the people that I met there. I was 19 when I was there 20 years ago. It's blowing my brain out that I can't believe it's been 20 years. yeah, we're not going there. I'm going to go midlife crisis on you. So the other thing that I would love to do is I would love to go to Europe, specifically Scotland, Ireland. I've got some ancestors from that side of the world, and I'm a huge William Wallace fan, and
Mm-hmm.
just I really think that there's some cool stuff. I've worn a kilt to church multiple times.
Yeah.
So I want to go back there with my wife. So I think that'd be
That's
cool.
awesome. My not this isn't lightning round's not about me, but my goal is to spend my 40th birthday in Ireland with my friends and family. So we're on the countdown for about 2.5 years till that. So it's
Man,
in the
I
works.
think I might join you on that. Can I be added to the group of friends that comes with you?
Sure.
Because I think I'm actually very close to that. I turn 39 in April, so I got like a year and a
Okay.
half.
Yep.
So I gotta figure out how to make that happen. That sounds like a good goal.
Well, Naichu coin was the ancestors who came over from Ireland. But
Nice.
anyways, this was so great. Thank you so much for joining the podcast today. I mean, there's so much there. We'll make sure to put all the links and everything in the show notes, and where people can connect with you, learn from you, take you up on that offer. So thank you so much for joining the podcast today.
Yeah, happy to be here.